We are in our radio program, with Healing Chats with my friend Douglas De Becker. Actually, remind me a very good poet, De Becker.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, he's all love.
Oh, you should show me. I've never heard it.
In Spanish, we have a translation. I think he is from Suez, actually,
Okay.
originally. I don't know if it's the same, the Becker. But
Maybe spelled a little bit different. There's some. Yeah, interesting.
well, a healing chat. Why propose a topic? Because my partner can change my topic in any time, and this is the game.
Probably will.
He practice Tibetan medicine, and I practice holistic medicine. Both they are holistic. My schools they are the West. I am nutritionist, and in the East is Chinese medicine. Then the topic is mind independence, uh, pain management, and infection. And you can, but I
So the question was, what do you mean by mind independence?
mind independence. Well, mind independence actually is the niche, the source of healing, and it's when you become useful for yourself. And the best example is how I use my hands. Then my hands they do 24/7 what I say. My hands they don't slap me and they don't slap you, and they are my hands they are 100% under my control. Why? Because I have a separation with my hand, and I know my hand is me, but it's not me at the same time. I know that, and I can use it, and it's under my will. But it's not the same with the brain. The brain don't obey. The brain get angry. The brain get worried. The brain don't remember what they need to to remember. Then the function of the brain is the mind. And the mind independence is actually to learn to use your brain, your mind for the right use. And the mind don't become a betrayer and take you out of the reality. One of the main function of the mind is to be here and now and to recording. Then the memory is only possible if you are here and now. In an otherwise, it's not recording. The camera is not working because if your mind is in the future or is in the past or is in your problems, the mind is not doing what it's supposed to do, which is it's like a camera taking information for the database. The another function of the mind is protect the heart. The mind, the right function of the mind and the brain is create filters for the heart. And this filter can become too efficient, become shield. And in our emotions is our essence. Then we are personality and essence. And my personality of healer is who is talking right now, because I have other personality now, only that healer. And I have essence connected with my profession. This is Horacio, what I do. But my emotions, I put my heart in my work. But one of the one example is schizophrenia. The or mental illness is the actually the problem start in the emotional world because the mind is not there for protect the essence with the right ideas training. Like you and me, we are already in the 50s. We have enough experience for the mind can do the right work. When I say mind independence is to learn the separations with your brain and the function is the mind. And the separation is no right now, self and mind. And who is self? Self, who is me, is who observes my mind.
Mm.
Then, through this separation, I create the control. And example, if I ask you right now to lift in the chair you are sit on, you cannot because you are sitting on.
Mm.
But if you stand up and pick up the chair, you will lift in the chair because you are
Mhm.
separate from the chair.
Mhm.
The same is the relationship with the mind. Then what I try to explain with mind independence is practically how to control your mind for different right functions of the brain. But with your brain is like your hand, and one of the problems is we confuse the brain with ourselves.
Mm.
And I say I am thinking this,
Mm.
and then if you don't thinking what I'm
Mhm.
thinking, let's fight.
Mhm.
Then Uh, why is not communication? Because I take things personal. I am too attached of my brain.
Mm.
I answer your question.
Yes, and then how does that tie into health,
Well, that is
mental health, or
well that
but there's
this
more
is
though. It sounds like there's a lot more
right. That
implication.
the second topic is pain management. Then health is basically measure for pain and no pain. Basically,
Mm.
if you don't feel any pain, you say I'm healthy. Then if you feel some pain and some stiffness, or you don't have a good energy, or you are in bad mood, or you cannot get up from the bed, or you cannot poop, or you cannot sleep, or you cannot have sexual life, you start to think, maybe I am sick.
Mm.
But the pain is actually the presence of pain. Many cultures they take like it's an angel coming to your life,
Mm.
where the pain is coming to guide you and tell you, well, you are doing something wrong,
Mm.
right? Then in traditional medicines, we don't believe in accidents, and also not too much in genetic, more in the bad habits you pick up from your parents, emotional ones, dietary ones, mental ones. And accidents is actually a result of an unbalanced life, and you attract what happened to you. Then, for management, the pain, when we do the process to become independence of my mind, in the same process, I get self knowledge. I know myself and I know the difference between what the minds create, and mostly a lot of pain is imagination. A lot of pain is exaggerate. A lot of pain is too big because ignorant. Then it's 2 or 3 times more painful when you don't know why it's hurt. But if you know the cause of the pain is much less. Which is really hurt is don't know what is
Mm.
the cause of your pain. The vulnerability to be under the control of the pain, and you cannot to control it because you basically don't know where it's coming from. It's like if somebody punch you and the punch is coming from nowhere all the time and you cannot do nothing about it. Then if you know where it's coming from, the punch, maybe you can start to fight.
Mm.
But the attitude actually is not fight with pain. Actually is um, to learn from pain and let it hurt.
Mm.
Then when we let it hurt less because we take away the resistance. And this is another factor for the pain become more painful. And
Mhm.
this is coming because we don't have a mind management. We don't have a mind independence. we believe if I'm looking for the way to get rid of it of the pain, if I resist to the pain, I can have the power to take the pain away and feel like yesterday without pain. No.
So in Tibetan medicine,
Mhm.
also in Ayurveda, similar concepts of pain, and I understand now what you mean by mind independence. So
Uh-huh.
so they have a very highly evolved theory around all that, and I think the best way to start is in relationship to pain itself. So the way they explain pain is through what they call the wind. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So so the wind is something that's everywhere,
Mhm.
and it's like raw energy. But when it's structured, when it's organized, through you could say different kinds of consciousness, you get different kinds of life. You get plants and animals and even stones and the way crystals form. It's all kind of there's a particular kind of structure or organization of that energy happening. And then when with the body and how our bodies are created, we also have this wind, and the wind is connected to consciousness. It's kind of
It's like a prana.
like prana, exactly,
Mhm.
like prana.
Okay.
So it's like how consciousness blends with, you could say, prana.
Mhm.
Um, when it's harmonious and it blends in a harmonious, original nature kind of way, you have really specific kind of life happening. So in the body, embryologically, when we develop our glandular systems.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and each of those glandular systems relate to a different kind of wind that's independent of each other, but also that's kind of overseen by the wind.
Also body types.
Similar to bodies, exactly.
Important the wind, the air, because here we're going to the practical part of
Yeah, yeah.
these two topics, which is mind independence and pain management. And here is the common practical work is breathing. And why? Breathing is like a leash for control the mind. Then you can control breathing, but only you can control the mind through breathing. If you are not aware about your breathing right now, you can be in imagination, you are on control of your mind. But if you know you are breathing, you are not in imagination, you are on
Mhm.
control of your mind. And this is the more important key because we can confuse information with knowledge and we can believe we control the mind because we read a book how we control the mind, but we need to be objective. Then the way to be objective is through breathing. Then in a pain management, oxygen is anesthetic. Then you can breathe in certain way with the air can diminish your pain because more oxygen in blood reduce inflammation. That is one example of one of the worst pain, physical pains people go through in these days is inflammation, and you cannot live with anti-inflammatories.
So there's these independent winds in the body. Yeah,
Mhm,
wind for inhalation,
mhm,
for exhalation, for a wind that spreads things through the body, like circulation,
mhm,
wind that helps to the digestion move in a particular way, and
mhm,
fire, the digestion fire, and then wind that for elimination. And when these winds become, you could say, too much pressure, they start to leak into different places, move in different ways, and that disorganization, they say, is the foundation of the imbalances starting, and it's directly related to your mental, emotional, spiritual stress, physical stress. So pain, they say if there's pain, there's always the presence of a wind imbalance. Yeah, that the wind is someplace it shouldn't be, or going in a degree of concentration it shouldn't be. And so bringing that back to balance, one of the fundamental things we look at is where the stress is coming from. Yeah. And like you were saying, like the source of the pain. Yeah. There's always some level of different degrees of mental, emotion, all these things, but where how we balance that stress and reduce that stress, we consider to be primary, the primary approach, and then after that we can deal with maybe too hot, too cold, too much, too deficiency, excess, whatever. But getting the wind to move back in the right way, or to support that to happen, allows the body then to heal itself, and then the things that we're adding to it become a lot less required. Yeah.
Healing, a natural healing, have conditions. That's why basically it's work on yourself, and it's very attractive, this invitation to use pain and use illness for your own evolution, for develop. And actually, originally, this is the cause of the illness, like for children's fever, and this is the link with infection. They are tools for replace cells. Then the cellular life needs in certain moment of the process shocks. Uh, then in nature it's working the same process have intervals, like music also have intervals, and this is interval is part of nature, the sign.
Yeah. So like the wind is always changing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so the idea is that when we resist that change, and resisting the change of the season, the change in our life, the change in our work, whatever is happening, resisting that change too much, going against the flow of the natural unfoldment of our life, will ultimately create pain, because it throws the wind out of balance, and then things start to not work the way they should. And so one of the brilliant things I think with traditional medicine is understanding how things are changing, with nature, with the seasons. When we're going into another season, what different organs are being stressed, what organs are being called on to do extra work, how we support that with our diet, with our activity. Is it a time when we should be more physically active, less physically active, and not kind of stern in our own idea, but really aware in our response to what's happening, and allowing the independence of, I'm using your term, the mind independence of the body, to really be free from the other parts, to be able to know what it needs to do. That it's not the chair; it can stand up and pick up the chair.
I, I want to pick two words, two concepts from your speech. Can be a key for understand better practically how to do self healing, and how eventually, if you like healing others, is balance and resistance. You use these two words very well, very nicely, and to understand balance of the body when he talking about the winds is more or less like orchestra. Then each organ have a timing and have his own timing and have a timing with other organs and other systems. And the body, we are healthy because we have a theory orchestra director, and all the instruments they are tuned up, and all of them play in different timings, but in the end make music. Then when the mind is not there and the mind is worried for the new car I cannot get, or because my neighbor is trespassing my property, when the mind is not in the moment, the mind is the orchestra director. Actually, the brain is the main healer of the rest of the organs. And the brain is who synchronize the work of the different glands, organs, and systems, which is a really orchestra. Each one have a different timing. and it have like the liver clean between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and so on. All the organs they have their own timing, and they need to work properly. Then, if the otherwise we make a really horrible music and we can listen, you don't need to be a musician for recognize a good harmony, for recognize a nice song, a nice tune. Everybody like Beatles because they have nice tunes, but everybody will agree with that beauty. That your life, your health, and you can be beautiful because this harmony, this balance. The resistance, when we resist to accept what is in the moment, is when the organs start to lose timing and speed.
So, an interesting segue into an infection, I
Mhm.
think, is that what we're talking about right now is what in traditional Tibetan medicine we talk about natural diseases caused by natural sources. But then there's also we should remember there's poisoning when we get poisoned. There's accidents, and then we also talk about kind of karmic kind of the result of bad energy that we've left behind us coming back to resolve itself, and also even just bad energy. Some we pick up some bad energy from someone or something, and a lot of this bad energy thing they relate to viruses and bacterial infections. So we have to also respond appropriately too. You have to be in harmony and balance and not really have resistance that's unnatural to our body, but then also our body's natural state in what level it finds itself in health
Well,
might find itself susceptible
uh-huh.
to bacterial viral
Well, that
infections and others, and
is a
then we
good
go into
question.
infections.
That's a good question. The question is, what is the connection between the immunity system and what we're talking about? What is the connection between the immunity system and mind independence?
So we would say that it has to do with the body's ability to access the knowledge to take care of itself. If it can't access that knowledge, if it can't deal with the environment, then the environment takes it over. If the terrain in the body, say, is toxic,
How you
or
do
if
that
it's
practically?
how do you what practically?
What you just said.
So practically, this is coming from also from stress.
Uh-huh. Right.
The less stress, the more attentive, the more present you are, not being stressed from future and past and in your body. Your body is very much present to meet the things. And that's assuming that you have the right nutrition, and it's also assuming that your digestion is strong, elimination is strong, that you haven't built up toxins and clogged pathways of the body's natural ability to do that. But then if infection does happen, if it takes, because we're always, we're like one of the things you said, we're made of bacteria. This is a very traditional idea. Yeah, we're made of all these things, and there's really no separation from inside and outside. In one way you could say the separation from what's inside and outside is simply consciousness, the awareness of that this is inside and this is what our body is doing, and this is outside and what our body is maybe not doing.
Something important, and is based in what you believe, and probably the people listening and looking right now believe uh, in the power of the immunity system. Then the practice of traditional medicines actually is reinforce the natural intelligence of human beings. It's not to actually add. We don't have to not to recreate the wheel. Then, practically speaking, there are different ways to manage pain, but we're talking about inflammation, which is very painful, and you can see how the immunity system react when we have inflammation. Then, very interesting why I have inflammation to make you the question yourself how you arrive to the point where you cannot to walk, the knee cannot to flex, the lower back cannot to sit, and there is the point where you make the questions because you don't want to take anti-inflammatories. You can take them for a period of time, but you cannot take them for the rest of your life. They can hurt your liver and can hurt your immune system in the end. Then they are palliative medicine, anti-inflammatories, even if they are natural anti-inflammatories, it's the same. Then you hurt your heart and your cardiovascular system, and then that can hurt your brain and the liver, and so then the inflammation uh, is also a defensive system. Then we can get inflammation from the emotional source, and we can get inflammation from willfulness.
Mm,
Then,
mm,
but the main cause of inflammation is your diet, is your food, the food you eat. You need to detect it, which food is too repetitive, and
and again, this is like what's making you choose to eat that way, right? What's your attitude, your emotional polarity that's making you eat that food, right? So you can change. You can say, okay, don't eat this food anymore. But then if you're not also looking at what was making you want to eat spicy food and drink alcohol all the time, what's behind that? And this is again with at least with traditional Tibetan medicine and Ayurveda, a lot of these formulas are using aspects of plants and herbs that are also kind of non-physical, like how does this particular herb make you feel? It's not just a chemical thing, but also the way it's working with your emotion and stuff. And so when they're formulated in that way with really hygienious, like the effect is amazing because it's not just we're just going to like change the chemistry. We're also using a plant that has these other influences through the body that helps to take the pressure of that stress and redirect it in a way that creates compensation and strong immunity.
well, there we're going to another subject, which is there are remedies. We're going to talk about that next program. Then thank you very much for being there. Bye bye.
Thank you. Great, that's awesome.
That got recorded here.
Okay.
At one point it started to give the alert of low battery.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool.
So you might want to check if
Technology.
that came out properly. I think I show in a couple of places. We might. Oh, it's still recording if you don't see it.